Hey, how you doing? Steve Noble Moto. Got my friend Kat's 2016 Heritage Softail up here on the lift today. What we were going to do is we were going to flush the brakes on this thing. Flush the brake fluid. Now this is an ABS bike, so we will be flushing that fluid as well. We will be using Amsoil Synthetic Brake Fluid. It's a synthetic brake fluid. Amsoil sells it. There's a link in the bio, or link in the video description if you want to get some. It's really good stuff. I use it in my bikes. It firmed up the braking a lot on my bikes and my wife's bike, and supposedly has some really high boiling point and a bunch of other jazz that I don't really know, but whatever, it works really well, so we're going to use it. Anyways, so bleeding an ABS unit. So you don't actually need to cycle the ABS unit, at least not on these bikes. You can just flush the system out. As long as you flush it every 2-3 years, something like that, you're going to be good. Just don't turn the bike on while you're bleeding it, because it might, kick something over and that thing says air in it, then you have to bleed the system and it's pain and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, just don't turn the bike on while you're doing it. You'll be fine. And if anyone's concerned about those trace amounts of brake fluid that are still in there, think of it like this. When you change your engine oil, there's still trace amounts of old engine oil still inside your engine. It's in your lifters, it's in your oil pump, it's in your oil cavities, your oil cooler, all that jazz. But as long as you're doing it on a regular basis, that will eventually get mixed in, because sooner or later you'll trip off the ABS. It will get mixed in, and it will be flushed on out. And then you don't really have anything to worry about. So, you can do this. You don't need to take it to the shop. It only takes basic hand tools and a one-man bleeder, one of those hand vacuum pumps. You can get them at your local auto parts store. If you're going to do it on a regular basis, buy a better one than what's at the local auto parts store. But yeah, so you just need brake fluid, basic hand tools. Let's move in for a closer look. All right, first step we're going to do is we're going to remove the saddlebags. Now, you may not necessarily need to do this, but for camera angles and stuff, it is necessary, and it is a lot easier to get your hand back in there once you take the bag off the Softail to get to the brake caliper. So, open your bags, take yourself a 1/2-inch wrench, preferably a ratcheting one, or a socket. And you see these two bolts back here? We got this one there, and you got this one right there. Hopefully you can see that. So just lefty-loosey those off of there. Let your hardware fall into the bottom of the bag. It's an easy way to keep track of it. Let all the washers fall down in there. Then you can take your bag, pull it away. Oh crap. I forgot about this bolt down here. There is one more bolt you have to remove. So now, here in the front of the bag, right behind the passenger peg, there is this mount. And this also takes a 1/2-inch wrench. And this has like a locked-in stud on the back of it, so you only really need one wrench. So you can just lefty-loosey that nut off of there. Whoop. Grab onto your bag. There's the nut there. Then there's a washer that was underneath the nut. And you can take the stud in the bracket right out of the back. It's got a carriage bolt on it that grabs the little bracket and stuff right there. The next step from there is simply lift your bag up off the motorcycle. Just like that. Put your bag in a safe, clean location. Now, move in for a closer look at this. So this is our brake caliper here. This is our main line. This is our bleeder here. There's a little rubber cap here on this bleeder, which we're going to pop off of there. So the next thing we're going to want to do up here at the front is to take the brake fluid reservoir cap off. This takes a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. If you aren't sure what number your screwdriver is, find the largest one that fits. You don't want to accidentally go too small and then have it strip out the screwdriver head. And once the screws are loose, you should be able to just lift that thing right up off of there. There should be a little rubber cap that comes with it. If it doesn't, if that little rubber cap stays on there, just lift that off. make sure you set your cap in a clean location. So now we're going to check our fluid level, and it looks pretty good, as it should. So what we're going to do is we're going to top this off all the way up to the top. Normally you wouldn't put that much in it because it will spill out when you put the cap on, but what's going to happen is we are going to pump the bleeder at the rear brake caliper, and it's going to draw fluid down. So as we pump it at the rear caliper, I have to keep a close eye on the level up here to make sure it doesn't go all the way empty and then I suck air into the system, because then I have to bleed the system. So I'm going to take our one-man bleeder here, one-person bleeder. I'm going to hold the cap on there. This little rubber cap doesn't seem to want to stay in place like it should, but I think this rubber cap needs replaced. It's getting a little hard, but normally it would stay on there, but if I take my hand off it long enough, it eventually falls off. But what we're going to do, we will then take our 3/8 wrench and open the bleeder. Give it about a total of a half a turn. You don't want to go too much or you suck air in around the threads. Right there you can see I'm starting to pull a vacuum. And what's going to happen is it's sitting on a vacuum right now. You'll see the fluid will eventually start going into that little container there. Whoop, there we go. Sometimes a little slow moving, but have some patience with it. So what I'm watching here is the color of this fluid. Now this fluid does look pretty good. It's not like dark or yellow or anything like that, but I'm going to keep drawing on it. I'm going to keep a close eye on it. As the level goes down, I'm going to keep adding brake fluid up front. And what I'm really looking for is I'm kind of watching the color of this brake fluid. Hopefully we're going to start seeing a little bit lighter colored fluid come through here. This would be a lot easier to say if this would be a lot easier to see if this bike wasn't as well maintained. But a lot of times you'll actually see the difference in color inside the tank, or this little catch can. And as the color, once the color gets lighter, that means you're drawing in new brake fluid, and you know you have flushed out the system. And since it's pretty much the same color, I'm just going to fill up this reservoir, or this catch can, because by the time that catch can is full, that is without a doubt more brake fluid than this system holds in it. So we're just going to go with that as a measurement. We're still drawing fluid, so we'll just keep going with that. And I'm still adding brake fluid up here to the reservoir. Right there, we are just going to close off this bleeder. And I'm going to hold the rubber cap on here as I do this. That way I don't accidentally introduce air into the braking system. There we go. We just want to snug that up. You're just trying to close it off and seal it up there. All right, so we're sitting pretty good right there. Dispose of your old brake fluid properly. Up here at the front, I'm going to add a wee little bit of brake fluid to this. We're only going to go for about 3/4 of the way full, because that's where it was when I took the cap off. And you don't want to overfill it, because obviously it would spill out, but also you have to keep in mind there's brake pads are wore down, and I don't like to overfill it because when I go to put new brake pads on this thing and you recompress the pistons, I don't want it to overflow out of the reservoir. So I'm aiming for the same level that was there when I took the cap off. There's your tech tip for the day. So we'll put the cap on there. Take our 2 screws. Get both of them started down in there. Then take our screwdriver. Run both screws in evenly. Run that one in. Run the back one or the front one in. Then tighten it up. And we're just going to tighten it up until that seal compresses a little bit and it feels like everything just kind of stops. You don't want to over torque these and strip out the screw. But you'll feel as you tighten the screw up, it'll just all of a sudden get a little bit tighter. There'll all of a sudden be a little more resistance. That's usually the point you've compressed the seal. Now, if you want to be sure and you don't want to over tighten your bleeder, you can use a torque wrench. Make sure your ratchets go in the correct direction. And you can. There you go. Now, give your brake lever a couple pumps just to make sure everything's seated. And the brakes should feel pretty good, which they do. Then you can reinstall your saddlebags. So just slide the saddlebags in there until the studs line up. Fish your washers on the bottom of the bag. And all your locking hardware. And get them all started on there. There's no real need to use thread lock or anything. Usually once these are tightened up, they're pretty good to go. It is a slight problem when you can't find the nut that you know you dropped in the bottom of the saddlebag. I know it's in here. Thread both of those on there. Just start them in there. Don't tighten them up yet. Because next you're going to want to go down here and put the stud in. Can we see that? Next you want to go down here, put the stud in, and put the washer on. Figure out what you do with the nut you took off of there. Put the stud in the back. Put the flat washer on it. Then take a nut and thread on there. This one has a nice locking nut on it, which is nice. If you want to buy one, nylon locking nut, if you don't have one, the thread would be 5/16 18. We're going to tighten this one up first. Go inside the bag. Tighten each one of these nuts up. Then, to be sure, we will torque each one of these to spec. Torque this one. And of course, the lower bracket down here. Right there. Your bags are reinstalled. Your rear brakes are bled. Oh, don't forget to hook your buckles back up. Nobody wants to be that guy with the buckles flapping in the breeze going down the road. All right. Now we move on to the front brakes. So we have a step ladder over on the other side. What we're going to do, we got our 5/16 wrench up on the bleeder here. I'm going to draw a little bit of a vacuum. Then I'm going to crack the bleeder free. And a very small amount of brake fluid is going to start dribbling out of there. And we'll start filling up inside this container. As we do that, I'm going to stand guard and make sure we don't draw the brake fluid down too fast. Since the bike is sitting up straight, the master cylinder is on a little bit of an angle. So it has basically less fluid in there than it could possibly have if the thing was leaned over on the side stand. However, if it was on the side stand, then it'd be hard to get to the brake caliper bleeder. So, just doing it this way and then paying close attention to the level in the reservoir. And continuing to draw a vacuum here. You should be able, maybe you can see it, there is fluid, brake fluid flowing out of the line. And just like I did on the rear brakes, and just like the situation with the rear brakes, the brake fluid is very clean coming out of this, so it's going to be hard to visually tell the difference between the old and the new. So I'm just going to keep going until I fill up that catch can, about full or almost full. And I'm going to use that as a measurement of I have flushed the entire system. Because the catch can definitely holds more than that brake system does. And once that catch can is full, alright, so the catch can is full. We still have a vacuum on it, but we're going to tighten up that bleeder and close it off right there. Check our reservoir level. Sitting good. So we can put the cap back on the reservoir. Then if you're in doubt about how tight to get a bleeder, or how tight to get the bleeder, you can torque it. You can torque it to spec, just like that. That's it. Give your lever a couple pulls. Everything should feel solid, and it does. And that's it. You're ready to go ride. That's all I got.